Welcome to JD Fitness. This is our exercise library. All you have to do is, if you want to choose an exercise, you can see the times and the exercises in front of you. Just go to the appropriate time where your exercise will be found, and there'll be a detailed guide on how to do the exercise. Bench press primarily works the chest. We want to set up the bar at this height, making sure our eyes are under the bar before we start, and we want to hold it in between the ring marker and the end of the grip on both sides. Then we want to slightly bring our chest up, arch our lower back on the bench. We want to bring the bar to our nipple line, and we want to push it back up to the top of our shoulders. This is going to create an arch motion with the bar like shown in the video. The incline dumbbell works the upper part of the chest. We want the bench at a 30-degree angles and kicking the dumbbells up with our knees. We want to press in the line with the top of our shoulders, making sure the elbows are locking out but not touching the dumbbells. The dumbbells should finish parallel with the shoulders. We want to keep our chest up through the whole movement and our lower back arched. The shoulder press Smith machine is a great exercise for the shoulders. We want to unrack the Smith machine, bringing it down, keeping our elbows perpendicular with the ground at all times while pressing, making sure our elbows don't move back or forward at the bottom end of the range of motion, and making sure to keep our chest up through the entire range of motion. The side lateral raise may look easy, but it's quite a difficult exercise. First, roll your shoulders back, keeping your chest up, and you're trying to lift the dumbbells with your elbows, trying not to move your wrist and just having the wrist as an anchor with the dumbbells. Making sure your elbows lead the way and your shoulders don't lift at all and your traps stay down. The dip is a great exercise for your chest and triceps. First, bring down the pad with the knee and hop on. You want your hands slightly behind your torso and you want to keep your chest up throughout the whole range of motion. You want to bend at the elbows and make sure to reach 90 degrees, no lower, and then go up to complete extension of the elbow. The lat pulldown is a great exercise for the lats. You want to tuck in and scooch in right into the pads. You want to be directly under the bar, keeping your chest up as you pull down, pulling your shoulders and elbows down and slightly leaning back from the hips, pulling the bar to your upper chest and then coming back up. You want to make sure your elbows are driving perpendicular to the ground and thinking about pulling them to your hips. The chin up is a great exercise for the lats and biceps. Make sure your hands are in a supinated position like shown, pulling with the chest and leading with it, aiming it at the ceiling. Make sure you're leaning slightly back from the hips while you're doing this as well. The pull-up is a great exercise for your lats. Make sure your hands are in a pronated grip, pulling with the chest, leading slightly back from the hips, making sure your back is arched throughout the range of motion. Make sure you're not going too high and you're pulling in a straight line. The reverse grip lat pull down works your biceps and your lats. Make sure you're tucked right under the pad, pulling down in a supinated grip, keeping your chest up as you pull to your chest, pulling with your elbows and your shoulders, making sure your elbows are driving downwards and into the hips, keeping your chest up and your lower back arched throughout the range of motion. Cable pec flies are a great way to activate the chest apart from presses. To make sure you're doing everything right, keep your chest up and lower back arched to this, and making sure your shoulders are kept back throughout the whole range of motion. What you're going to do is you're going to bring your elbows together as you keep your chest up, and make sure your elbows are going backwards in parallel with the cable. Face pulls are a great way to activate the upper back and traps. Make sure the cable is set at your eye level or a little bit higher, making sure your chest up is throughout the range of motion, pulling and leading with your elbows while bringing your shoulders back, and making sure you're pulling to your eyes. The tricep rope pull down works the short head of the tricep. Make sure to keep your chest up, pulling straight down, making sure your elbow stays in the exact same position and keeping your shoulder in the exact same position. Make sure you go to full extension with your elbow and then coming back up, as high as you can without moving your elbow. The overhead rope extension is a great exercise for long head of the tricep. Make sure the cable is positioned slightly higher than your head. Now leaning forward with your hips, pulling the cable forward. Go to complete elbow extension by locking out your elbows. As you come back, make sure your shoulder joint comes back slightly, but you're primarily coming back with your elbows. The rope hammer curls works the biceps brachii. Make sure the cable is on the bottom position, feet close to the cable, keep your chest up and you're not moving your shoulders or your elbows in the exercise. Bring the rope up to your chest and then back down to full elbow extension. Easy bar bicep curls are a great alternative to regular barbell curls. Keep your chest up and keeping your shoulders back. Make sure to keep your elbow in the exact same position the whole time in this exercise. Bring the bar as high as you can while your elbow is in the same position and then go back down all the way to full elbow extension. Preacher curls are a great exercise to work the biceps. Make sure your elbows are always on the pad and you want to go down to full extension, bringing your forearms as high as you can without lifting your elbows off the pad. Straight bar cable curls are a great exercise for your biceps. Make sure the cable is on the bottom position, stand close to the cable, keep your chest up, and now you're not moving your shoulders or elbows, moving the bar up to your chest and bringing it all the way down to complete elbow extension. The lat pullover is a great exercise for your lats. Keep the cable slightly positioned above your head, and now you want to get in a position where you're leaning forward from your hips, making sure your chest is up. You want to pull the rope to your hips, pulling your elbows back and pulling your shoulders back. Make sure not to change the angle between your elbow joint. The bent over row works the back. Walk back with the barbell and hinge at the hips, keeping a slight bend in your knees. Now you want to stay in this position throughout the exercise. You want to bring your shoulders and elbows backwards and bring the bar to your belly button. Make sure you keep your chest up and your lower back arched. The shoulder press works the shoulders. Walk back with the barbell. Make sure pegs are at shoulder height. Now you want to keep your chest up throughout the range of motion, keeping your lower back arched. You're starting with your hips moved forward, and then they're going to come back as you push straight up. You should be finished in a straight line. The seated cable row is a great exercise for your back, similar to the bent over row but more stabilized. All you're doing is you're keeping your chest up and your lower back arched while you pull your shoulders and elbows back like shown in the video. You're trying to pinch your shoulder blades at the end of the range of motion. The inverted row is a great exercise to replace the bent over row. Now you can do this exercise on your heels like shown in the video, or you can bend your legs even more closer to your body to make this easier. All you're trying to do is bring your chest up to the bar, keeping your chest up and making sure your shoulders and elbows are coming down. The barbell squat is the pinnacle of leg exercises. Make sure the bar is situated at shoulder level so you can unrack and re-rack really easily. Now you want to walk back with the bar, making sure your feet are shoulder width apart, a little bit wider with your toes pointed outwards slightly. And you want to come down to about 90 degrees, making sure your hips don't tuck under your body. This, you can end up going lower, or you might not be able to go that low. Just make sure that your hips don't tuck under. That's the main thing. Keeping your chest up and your lower back slightly arched. The kettlebell squat is a beginner version of the barbell squat. All we're trying to do now is let the kettlebell go down with gravity, and we're just letting it hang in our hands. We're coming down to parallel with the squat, sitting backwards like you're sitting back on a bench, and you want to keep this angle shown in the video and making sure your hips aren't tucking under and you're just letting the kettlebell drag you down. The kettlebell swing is a great exercise for your glutes. It's very similar to a hip thrust. All we're trying to do with the kettlebell is bring it back through a hip hinge and then hip thrust the kettlebell forward and using the momentum to get it up, and then repeat. The walking lunge may look easy, but it's quite a difficult exercise for your legs. Now we're not trying to walk in a straight line, we're sort of stepping slightly to the side. All we're taking is a big step forward and dropping the back knee, like shown in the video, and we're going to create a 90-degree angle with our upper leg and our lower leg. The split squat is quite a tricky exercise to balance, so put one leg on the bench like shown, make sure your front foot is quite significantly forward, and all you're trying to do is come down with the back knee. Your front knee shouldn't be going past your toe, and you should be keeping all your weight on the front heel. The glute hip thrust is a great exercise for glute development. Now you want to probably put a pad on the bar so it doesn't hurt your pelvis while you put it on you. Now you can start with the bar on top of you and then come up to the position, or you can do what I do in the video. All you're trying to do is bring your hips down and then push up and through your hips and do a hip thrust. Now you want to keep all your weight through the heels, making sure a portion of your upper back is on the bench as well. The leg extension works the quads. Sit in the seat, making sure your chest is up and you're pulling yourself down into the bench. Make sure you're pulling yourself down into the bench throughout the whole exercise, and all you're doing is kicking up with your toes pointed to complete knee extension. The seated hamstring curl is a great isolation exercise for the hamstrings. We're trying to just bring the pad towards us with our heels, making sure your toes are pointed, keeping your chest up at all times, and pushing yourself away from the handles and into the bench. The deadlift is one of the most demanding exercises in the gym. Now, the deadlift is probably the trickiest in terms of form. What you're trying to do is similar to the squat, but you're trying to keep your hips higher than your knees. Now, you want to keep your lower back arched throughout the whole range of motion, keeping your chest slightly up. And all we're trying to do is we're trying to bring our hips to lockout. Once we bring our hips to lockout, we'll bring our shoulders slightly back, and then we're letting the bar drop to rest, and then picking it up again in that same fashion. The stiff-legged deadlift is a great exercise for your hamstrings. We want to walk back with the bar, and now we want to keep the bar away from our shins, and we want to hinge back with the hips, keeping your chest up and your lower back arched throughout the range of motion. Don't lock out at the top. As you can see, I'm just short of locking out, and then I'm going back down. The hack squat is a great alternative to regular squats. What you want to do is you want to set the seat up below the bottom end of the range of motion. Then you want to push up, pushing through your heels, and your feet are shoulder width apart. Make sure your chest is up, and you want to be pushing your butt into the seat at all times. You want to go down as low as possible without your hips tucking under your body. That will be around 90 degrees. The leg press works your legs. You want your feet shoulder width apart, or even a little bit wider with your toes slightly pointed out. And now you want to keep your chest up, and you want to pull yourself down into the bench. You want to bring your knees down, like shown in the video, and you want to reach about 90 degrees. You don't want to go too low so your butt comes out of the bench. Lying leg raises are a great exercise for your lower abdominals. You want to hold onto the bench, like shown, lying flat and bringing your legs backwards, tucking your hips under your torso. And then you want to come back to where your torso is flat on the bench and then repeat. Decline leg raises are a great progression from lying leg raises. All we're going to do is be on a decline bench, grabbing onto the bench, lying flat on it, and we're trying to bring our legs backwards and then bring your legs back so your torso is on the bench, and then repeat. Abdominal cable crunches are probably one of the best exercises for abs. We want to have the rope position slightly higher than our head, and then we're pulling down the rope, we're keeping our hips in the same position, slightly higher than kneeling down completely on our heels. And what we want to do is now curl our chest to our knees and then bring your chest up, keeping your lower back arched as you come up, and then curling your lower back as you come down.